She was just the dishwasher. No name tag, no voice, no place at the table. But that night, everything changed inside San Francisco's most exclusive restaurant. While billionaires toasted and critics judged every bite, Lila Bennett sang quietly over a sink full of crystal glasses. She didn't know the owner, Grayson Hale, a world-renowned chef, was standing behind her, frozen, captivated by a voice that didn't belong in the shadows. And she definitely didn't know that what she was about to uncover would shake the foundations of his empire. A broken wine glass, a forbidden offer, a scandal buried for 15 years. What began as a spilled drink would unravel into a battle of stolen legacies, corporate betrayal, and a love neither of them saw coming. But the real question wasn't just whether Lila would rise from the shadows. It was whether Grayson would choose her or the empire built on a lie. Stay with us, because the truth is about to explode, and nothing at Halacrest Manor will ever be the same again. The steam wrapped around her like a second skin, blurring the world into glistening shapes. Lila Bennett stood at the far end of the kitchen in Halacrest Manor, San Francisco's most exclusive restaurant. Her hands, red from the heat and wrinkled by water, moved quickly through the pile of porcelain dinnerware plates that cost more than her rent. But her mind was somewhere else, and so was her voice. Think of me when you're lonely. When you cry, think of me. She sang in a soft, haunting melody, her voice floating through the noise like smoke from an unseen fire. She held a crystal wine glass up to the light, inspecting it for streaks. It shimmered like it was made of magic. She didn't notice the door open. He did. Grayson Hale, executive chef and owner of Halecrest, stood in the doorway with his arms folded. His jawline was sharp as steel, his eyes glacial. But now those eyes were locked onto Lila, onto that voice, that presence. How had he never heard her sing before? She was just the evening dishwasher, or so he'd thought. Then, without warning, the glass slipped from her fingers. A gasp caught in her throat. Time fractured. The glass spun in midair, catching the overhead light and scattering a burst of rainbow across the stainless steel walls. Grayson lunged forward instinctively, but crash. Lila squeezed her eyes shut, expecting the worst. But instead of shattered crystal at her feet, she saw polished Italian leather shoes, expensive, dangerous, and standing mere inches from her worn sneakers. "You're lucky," came a low voice. That was one of the commercial line glasses. Her heart dropped. She looked up and up. "Chef Hale," she stammered. "Miss Lila Bennett," he said evenly. "Evening dishwasher, right? I'm sorry. I didn't mean you always sing while you work," he asked. His tone wasn't curious. It was a challenge. Lila hesitated. "Only when no one's listening." A strange smile ghosted across his lips. Someone was listening tonight. The kitchen's swinging doors burst open, voices, clinks of forks. The low hum of luxury. Halecrest Manor was fully booked, just like every night. Grayson Darling, a sweet but cutting voice, sliced through the air. Victoria Langford. In a designer gown that glittered like shattered diamonds, she glided toward them. Her eyes scanned Lila with cold calculation. "Are we interrupting something?" Grayson's entire demeanor changed. Polished, remote. "Just reminding the staff about noise control in the kitchen." "Discipline is essential," Victoria said with a dazzling smile. Her arm snaked through his possessively. "And you," she added, turning to Lila. "You clean what we dirty." How quaint. Lila bit her lip, but said nothing. "Not now, not here." Victoria turned her attention back to Grayson. "Daddy wants to finalize the expansion deal. Halacrest London, Halacrest Dubai. He's thrilled, says you're finally thinking globally." Grayson's jaw tightened. "This restaurant isn't a franchise, we've talked about this." "No," Victoria smiled thinly. "We argued. You refused. There's a difference." Lila took a careful step back. Her presence felt like a stain on their perfectly pressed world. "With your permission," she murmured. Grayson watched her retreat. Something about her, the quiet fire in her posture, the pride in her silence, refused to fade from his mind. Later that night, a sous chef approached her, whispering, "Lila, Chef Hale wants to see you in his office." "Now what? Why?" He said something about a professional proposal. The sous chef leaned in. He's never looked at anyone like that before. "What did you do?" Lila swallowed hard. "I just sang." She walked toward his office like she was walking toward a firing squad. Inside the room was dim, the windows framing the glittering skyline like a painting. She stood frozen in the doorway. "If it's about the glass," she said before he could speak, "I'll pay for it out of my paycheck. If it's about singing, I'll stop. And if your girlfriend didn't like me, I'll resign." Grayson raised an eyebrow. "Did I say anything about firing you?" Lila blinked. "You're not—" "I heard your voice," he said simply, stepping around his desk. "And I think the guests at tomorrow's event should hear it too." She stared at him. "You want me to sing at a private event? No, I want you to host it, smile, charm, welcome people. Maybe sing, if it feels natural, 'I wash dishes.' Chef Hale, I don't charm billionaires, you do." Now he replied. Before she could protest further, a voice broke the moment. Again, Victoria stood at the door. Her eyes narrowed as they landed on Lila. "What a convenient time to be discussing job offers. Miss Bennett will be our special host for tomorrow's event." Grayson said, his voice like stone. Victoria laughed. "That's adorable." A dishwasher playing dress-up. Lila stood tall. "This dishwasher can hear you, and she also knows how to handle Crystal, which is more than I can say for you." Victoria's smile flickered. Grayson didn't look at either of them. "Tomorrow, 8 a.m. My assistant will take you shopping." As Lila left the office, heart pounding, she heard his final words behind her. "And Miss Bennett, bring your voice to be continued. We're so sorry for stopping the story right here, especially with things just heating up. But tell us, do you think Grayson is really serious about giving Lila a chance? Or is there something else going on? Would you take the risk if you were in Lila's shoes, or walk away quietly? Let us know in the comments below and where in the world you're watching from. If this story moved you even a little, don't forget to tap like and show us some love." Lila Bennett had never felt more out of place in her life. Wrapped in a sleek black dress, surrounded by the elite of San Francisco, she floated through Hallecrest Manor's marble halls like a ghost in someone else's dream. Politicians, investors, celebrities. Everyone mingled and laughed, sipping $1,000 wines and tossing around names like Monaco and Geneva as if they were weekend getaways. She clutched her tray tighter, forcing a smile as she served drinks. No one looked her in the eye. No one saw her until someone did. A man older with a French accent and a heavy scent of cognac grabbed her wrist mid-pour. "You look familiar," he slurred. "Paris, maybe I don't think so," Sir Lila said, pulling her hand back, but he didn't let go. "I remember, beauty," he whispered, running a thumb along her wrist. She stiffened her mouth, opening to protest, when a voice cut through the air. "She's with me, Grayson." Hale appeared like a blade, calm, poised, but with fire beneath the surface. His hand landed firmly on the ambassador's shoulder. "I need her for the next course," he said, smiling tightly. Now the man backed off, muttering something in French. Grayson turned to Lila. "Are you all right? I can handle myself," she said. "But thanks, it's not about handling," he replied. "It's about respect, and you deserve that." His words hit her like a chord in a song she didn't know she needed to hear. Then came the footsteps, heels fast, sharp. Grayson, Victoria Langford's voice was honey-coated poison. She glided up, lips painted red, her eyes scanning Lila like a threat. Everyone's waiting for the toast. Lila's stomach twisted. She knew what was coming. Back in the grand dining room, the lights dimmed. Champagne sparkled in tall glasses. Victoria stood center stage, holding hers high. "Tonight we celebrate not only Hallecrest's future," she said, beaming, "but ours." She turned to Grayson, her smile gleaming. "I'm thrilled to announce we're engaged." A wave of applause roared through the room. Flashes went off like fireworks. Lila's hands trembled. The tray tipped. 3 champagne glasses crashed to the floor. 1 splattered red wine across Victoria's white silk gown. The room fell silent. "You absolute idiot!" Victoria snapped. "Look at my dress." Lila's cheeks burned. I'm sorry, it was an accident." "Grayson, fire her now." Grayson didn't move, but Lila did. She placed the tray down, calmly, firmly. "No need, I quit." Gas broke out like thunder. She turned to walk away and froze. A receipt soaked in wine peeked out from under the table. Something about it pulled her in. She picked it up without thinking. Her breath caught Bennett Root's vineyard. Dated 15 years ago, owner Eleanor Bennett. Her mother Lila didn't go home. She took the midnight bus to her childhood neighborhood, heart racing. Her mother's house stood quietly under the stars, a single light glowing from the back room. Eleanor looked up as Lila walked in. "Sweetheart, what are you doing here? What happened?" Lila dropped the receipt on her desk. "What is this?" Eleanor went pale. She picked it up and her hands began to tremble. "Where did you find this Hallcrest on the floor?" "After I quit," her mother sat down heavily. "I didn't want this for you." "You own this vineyard?" Lila asked. "The wine everyone praises? I co-owned it," Eleanor said. "With your father before Langford Holdings stole it." And there in the quiet warmth of the room, Eleanor told her everything. The deal that was too good to be true. The contract that was altered behind their backs. The vineyard taken from them, piece by piece. And how Richard Langford built an empire on their stolen legacy. Lila felt the truth burning in her chest. "I have to tell Grayson?" Eleanor hesitated. "It won't change the past, but it might change the future." The next morning, Lila walked into Langford Holdings, her heart pounding. "I need to speak to Mr. Richard Langford," she told the receptionist. "Tell him I'm Eleanor Bennett's daughter." 10 minutes later, she sat in a glass-walled office, facing a man who had stolen everything from her family. "What do you want?" Richard Langford asked coolly. "Recognition royalties." Justice, Lila said, placing copies of her mother's original wine process on his desk. He laughed. "You'll get nothing. Your mother signed everything away. After you doctored the contract, we have the originals." His smile cracked. "What do you want really?" he asked again. "I'm going to Grayson," she said. "He deserves to know the truth. That his restaurant, his wine was built on fraud." The door opened. Victoria Langford. She froze at the sight of Lila. "What is she doing here?" "Discussing family business," Richard said calmly. Lila met Victoria's gaze without blinking. "You knew, didn't you?" she said. "You knew where the wine came from, and you kept it from him." Victoria's jaw clenched. "You think some dishwasher is going to destroy everything we built?" she sneered. "I'm not just a dishwasher." Lila replied, "I'm the daughter of the woman who created the wine. Your entire empire depends on." Victoria's expression went cold. "If you take this public, I'll ruin you." Lila stepped closer. "Do it, but Grayson will hear the truth from me." To be continued. "We're so sorry for cutting off the story just as it explodes, but we had to pause right here. Tell us, if you were in Lila's position, would you confront Grayson, knowing it could destroy everything? And do you think Victoria will fight dirty to keep her secret hidden? Let us know in the comments. Also, which country are you watching from today? And if this part moved you, please give it a like. It helps more than you know. Grayson Hale was already moving before the gala had even begun. He didn't wait for another empty toast or a flattering headline. He stormed into the kitchen of Hallcrest Manor like a man possessed. The staff parted silently as he passed, sensing something in his eyes, something rare, dangerous and absolute. "Where's Lila Bennett?" he demanded. No one answered. Then Marcella, the shy dishwasher, stepped forward. "She hasn't come back. But I know where she lives." 15 minutes later, Grayson was racing across the city in his Maserati engine, roaring like his pulse. The sleek car screeched to a stop in front of a modest apartment building in an old neighborhood. No valet, no champagne, just truth waiting behind a worn wooden door. He knocked once. Hard inside, Lila hesitated, heart pounding. When she opened the door, Grayson stood there. No chef's coat, no armor, just a man who looked like he'd crossed a battlefield to find her. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice wary. "I need to know the truth," he said, "all of it." So she told him about her mother, Eleanor, the stolen vineyard, the forged contracts, the wine he thought he knew. She showed him the photograph, two young dreamers among grapevines, her parents. He stared at it for a long time, then sat down like the wind had been knocked out of him. "I always knew something was wrong with the wine," he muttered. "But I never imagined—" "Now you do," she said softly. He looked up, something flickering in his eyes. "You could have told me sooner. Would you have believed me?" Silence, then a breath. "Yes," she smiled faintly. "You're here now. That's what matters." That night, as the gala glittered with perfect lies and smiling masks, Grayson Hale returned to Hallcrest not alone, but with Lila Bennett on his arm. When they entered the room, the music didn't stop, but the mood shifted like a current had changed beneath the surface. Victoria froze mid-sentence, her smile cracking at the corners. "Darling," she said through clenched teeth, "you didn't tell me you'd be bringing a guest." "She's not a guest," Grayson said. "She's the one who should have been celebrated here all along." Gasps, Richard Langford stood at the stage, microphone in hand. "Ladies and gentlemen, I now present, I'll take it from here," Grayson interrupted, walking straight to the mic. The crowd hushed. "For years I believed Halacrest stood for something real," he said, "for authenticity, passion, truth. But last night I learned that the wine we built our name on the wine we say represents excellence was stolen." Whispers broke out like sparks. The original vineyard was owned by Eleanor Bennett. She developed the flavor, the soul. Her legacy was buried, her name erased, but not anymore. He turned, extending a hand to Lila, who stepped onto the stage, trembling but proud. "This is her daughter, the rightful heir to that legacy." Victoria surged forward. "You're not doing this. You're ruining everything. If you walk away from this partnership, I'm not walking away from anything." Grayson cut in. "I'm walking towards something better." Richard's voice thundered from the back. "The contract is clear. If you break this deal, you lose Halcrest." Grayson smiled. "Then I'll start over." The room erupted, some in disbelief, others in applause. And somewhere near the back, Eleanor Bennett appeared carrying a small wooden crate. She stepped into the spotlight holding up a bottle, the last of the original Bennett Roots wine. August Pelayo, the country's most feared food critic, emerged from the crowd. "I came for a gala," he said, "but this is better." He took a sip from a freshly poured glass, closed his eyes. When he opened them, they shimmered, elegant, honest, and unforgettable. "This is what we've been missing." The critics agreed, the cameras rolled, and just like that, everything changed. Outside, beneath the soft light of dawn, Grayson turned to Lila. "I don't want another restaurant," he said. "I want a beginning with you." Lila blinked. "Even if it means giving up everything." He took her hands. "You are everything." They kissed, this time not stolen or secret, but true, bold, free. 6 months later, the doors of Bennett and Hale opened in a restored vineyard on the California coast. Eleanor's techniques were at the heart of every recipe Lila sang in the kitchen. Grayson cooked beside her, and guests came not just for the food, but for the story. A story of loss, truth, and two people who chose love over legacy, truth over empire, and music over silence. Because sometimes the soul of a dish doesn't come from perfection. It comes from pain, passion, and a voice that refuses to be ignored. Now we want to hear from you. If someone tried to erase your family's legacy, would you fight for it no matter the cost? And do you believe true love can survive betrayal, power, and pride? Tell us your thoughts in the comments and let us know, how did you feel about this story? Comment no 3 if you loved it, no 2 if it was just okay, and no 1 if it didn't quite hit the mark. And of course, tell us where in the world you're watching from. If this story moved you, please like, share, and send some love to help others find it too.